You know who the best managers are? They're the great individual contributors who never, ever want to be a manager, but decide they have to be a manager because no one else is going to be able to do as good a job as them.
At Apple, it's about ideas, and we argue about ideas constantly.
The greatest people are self-managing. They don't need to be managed. Once they know what to do, they'll go figure out how to do it, and they don't need to be managed at all.
You've got to be a really good talent scout, because no matter how smart you are, you need a team of great people. And you've got to figure out how to size people up fairly quickly, make decisions without knowing people too well, and hire them and see how you do and refine your intuition and be able to help build an organization that can eventually just build itself, because you need great people around you.
We wanted people that were insanely great at what they did. When you get a core group of 10 great people, it becomes self-policing as to who they let into that group. So I consider the most important job of someone like myself is recruiting.
One day I got a call from Steve Jobs that says, we need a word processor on Macintosh. And I said, well, I don't want to do it. I want to go back to school. And he gave me a price, and so I said, well, okay.
One of the keys to Apple is Apple's an incredibly collaborative company. You know how many committees we have at Apple?
No.
0. We have no committees.
No committees.
We are organized like a startup. One person's in charge of iPhone OS software. One person's in charge of Mac hardware. One person's in charge of iPhone hardware engineering. Another person's in charge of worldwide marketing. Another person's in charge of operations. We're organized like a startup. We're the biggest startup on the planet. We all meet for 3 hours once a week, and we talk about everything we're doing, the whole business. There's tremendous teamwork at the top of the company, which filters down to tremendous teamwork throughout the company. And teamwork is dependent on trusting the other folks to come through with their part without watching them all the time, but trusting that they're going to come through with their parts. That's what we do really well. And we're great at figuring out how to divide things up into these great teams that we have and all work on the same thing, touch bases frequently, and bring it all together into a product. We do that really well. What I do all day is meet with teams of people and work on ideas and solve problems to make new products, to make new marketing programs, whatever it is.
And are people willing to tell you you're wrong?
Yeah.
I mean, other than snarky journalists. I mean, people that work for you.
Oh, yeah. No, we have wonderful arguments.
And do you win them all? Or?
Oh, no, I wish I did. No, see, you can't. If you want to hire great people and have them stay working for you, you have to let them make a lot of decisions, and you have to be run by ideas, not hierarchy. The best ideas have to win. So, otherwise, good people don't stay.
We try to hire really smart people, but we have a very simple organization, and we try to focus and do very few things well. And focusing's hard, because focusing doesn't mean saying yes, it means saying no. So we decide not to do a lot of things, so we can focus on a few handfuls of things and do them well. Everybody working at a company wants to do something great. They want to be excited about what they're working on, and they want to be recognized for it if they do a really great job. So we just try to allow people to do the best work of their lives at Apple and get it out to 25 million customers that we have. And that's very exciting. And when you're working on something, and if this works out, up to 25 million people are going to use this. It's very motivating. And it's not just 25 million of our customers, but other companies tend to follow us. It takes them a few years, but other companies tend to copy what we do if it works. Right. And so we can influence the whole industry.
Steve Jobs taught me that A players hire A players. We did our best work in our careers because we were presented with the biggest challenge.
We went through that stage in Apple where we went out and we thought, oh, we're going to be a big company, let's hire professional management. We went out and hired a bunch of professional management. It didn't work at all. Most of them were bozos. They knew how to manage, but they didn't know how to do anything. And so if you're a great person, why do you want to work for somebody you can't learn anything from?
The individual contributors were unbelievable. I asked a lot of them, why in the heck did you stay?
And they had a phrase that I'd heard several times. They said, well, we bleed 6 colors.
He wanted Apple to be great, and he wanted the product to be great, and he wanted you to be great. And if you weren't doing your best work, he was upset.
Always the hardest decision I think anybody leading an organization makes is to let people go. And at the beginning at Apple, it was pretty tough. Apple was in worse shape than I thought when I joined.
People that worked on it consider themselves, and I certainly consider them, artists. These are the people that under different circumstances would be painters and poets, but because of that time that we live in, this new medium has appeared.
When you're a little younger and you don't have a family of your own, maybe it's a little easier. You don't think about it as much. But when you start to have a family of your own and kids, you realize that the person you're laying off's got to go home and tell their family they don't have a job, and it's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. So that was, I think, the hardest thing I've had to do.
To create clusters of people working on a common task, and these 15 people can work together extremely efficiently no matter where they are geographically and no matter who they work for hierarchically. These organizations can live for as long as they're needed and then vanish. And we're finding we can reorganize our companies electronically very rapidly, and that's the only type of organization that can begin to keep pace with the changing business conditions.
I wish I hadn't gotten fired. I wish I was there. I wish this. I wish that. It doesn't matter. And so let's go invent tomorrow.
My greatest joy is when we have people that are much better than I am at something, so I can not forget about it, not worry about it, and get on to something else where I can help. What happens is that this is the same in technology as it is at Pixar and on the creative side, which is where you've got incredibly talented people that are also rare and in demand. If you don't treat them right, they can go get another job in 10 minutes, right? So the strange thing happens, which is that the hierarchy of power inverts. And the CEO is actually at the bottom. So I sort of feel like I work for most of these people because they're the ones that are doing all the brilliant work. The best people are very hard to come by, and so it's management's job to support them because they're on the front lines doing the work. So that's kind of how we run the place.
How do you do that?
How do we do that?
How do you do that?
We do that by creating the right environment, a very rich environment, and removing obstacles out of their way, and putting together the right teams of people together and getting the right projects. Keeping the quality levels very high, both in terms of people and strategy and projects, those kinds of things. Our studio has grown tremendously this year. We started off at about 175 people, and we'll be at about 300 people by the end of this year. And one of our major challenges was not to lower the quality bar one iota. And we managed to accomplish that. We put together a very strong recruiting group. We did a lot of other things that I'd rather not talk about, because there are competitive advantages, and we were able to hire 125 A+ people this year. Now that was something that was incredibly important to the studio.
If you want to hire and keep really bright people, then you can't tell them what to do very often.